Okay, so here's a video on Amazon ads that pretty much goes over the other side of Amazon ads and everything that I've learned on that other side of Amazon ads after spending over $7,000. So if you don't know what I mean by the other side, typically when it comes to advertising videos, we would take a look at all the different strategies and fancy techniques when it comes to creating ad campaigns, blah, blah, blah. But this is a different side to Amazon ads. And what I think is actually much more important than those type of advertising videos. So let's take a look at what's going to be inside this video today, because it's going to be another long one. But I can guarantee the information in this video is going to be information that you've never seen regarding Amazon ads. And I can promise you it's much more important than creating fancy advertising campaigns, although I do get into that as well. So inside this video, we're going to be taking a look at the big problem with Amazon ads. We'll take a look at whether we should be using ads strategically to make direct profit or for both. We'll take a look at the strategies that I use. So I'm going to go over a 9-step strategy that I use when it comes to my Amazon ads. From there, we'll take a look at the big section, which is going to be overspending on ads for no reason. From there, we'll take a look at budgeting. From there, we'll take a look at killing your ads, optimizing them and leaving them alone. We'll take a look at the different types of campaigns that I'm using. We'll take a look at what I think you should be doing as a beginner, and then we'll end this with the mental side of things, which again is pretty important. So let's just go into my dashboard quickly and take a look at the amount of ad spend that I've accumulated over the last few years. So what we can see here, and this comes as a surprise to a lot of people, that I've spent $7,600 over the last few years since January of 2019. So really that's not that much money in the grand scheme of things, considering that I typically tend to publish in very high demand niches. So let's take a look now at the first section of this video. So the first section here, we're going to be talking about the big problem with Amazon ads, because what Amazon ads are, they are the in thing at the moment to make more sales and make more money. However, it's very misleading, especially not intentionally, but videos like mine where we're flashing these big numbers on screen, the money it's being made and the power behind advertising, is that it's become the in thing in order to make sales. So the problem here is that people don't know how to utilize ads correctly to actually make sales from their books. People don't understand why they're running ads. And typically what you're going to find is that people's budgets are so low that they don't actually know what to do with that budget to maximize the effectiveness of advertising campaigns. So Amazon ads, and this is again, it's part of the big problem, is that Amazon ads are just extra visibility to your books. If your books are complete ass, then you're just going to be getting more and more eyes on a book that people don't want. So again, that's a massive problem that people have when it comes to ads. From there, what people do is that they tend to rack up a huge amount of ad spend for absolutely no point. So what happens here is that the focus starts moving away from the niche, the book cover, your unique selling point, everything that makes a great product that people want to buy. The focus moves away completely, and we start focusing on these magical advertising strategies that are going to make us money, when that's not how things work. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, and this is the biggest question you ever will ask, ever ask yourself when it comes to ads, is why am I running ads? Okay, so all of this is going to be covered throughout the entirety of this video to give you a clear picture of how you can go forward, utilize ads within the budget that you set for yourself. Okay, so one thing that a lot of people don't understand, and this probably comes from, I guess, YouTube videos where showing off like really low ACOS amounts, it's very hard to make a direct profit, especially short term, and especially from low and medium content books. It's extremely hard to make a direct profit from ads. So if you saw my advertising campaigns, then you'd have seen that my overall ACOS was around 35%, which is actually a loss. Okay, so there is a reason that I keep running ads even at a very slight loss. I'm going to cover all of that inside of this video. So another big problem here is that people get emotionally attached to one project because they don't know why they're running ads. They don't know how to budget. They don't know how to rank their keywords. They just run ads, and they get emotionally attached to one project, and they end up racking up a huge amount of ad spend. and it ends up making them feel like shit. Okay, so with that in mind, the first thing that we need to ask ourselves, so most of us here, we're doing low and medium content books. If you're watching me, you're probably doing, or you're interested in medium content books like coloring books, activity books, etc., etc. So you need to ask yourself before you start running your ads, what are you running ads for? Is it to make a direct profit, or is it for strategical purposes? Okay, so for profit, the first thing that you need to ask yourself, is that even doable? Because it's for a book that is priced at $5.99 or $8.99, between $5.99 and $8.99, which is going to be like a typical price for a medium content book. It's going to be extremely hard. I promise you, it's extremely hard to make a direct profit from every single campaign that you create. You won't do it. I absolutely promise you that you will not make a direct profit from every campaign that you create, because you're going to need absolutely crazy conversions, and you're going to need a low click cost to go with that, especially if you're selling your book for $5.99 or $6.99. Might be $6.99 now, given the price increases. That, you know, it's going to be extremely hard, basically. Okay, so alongside of that is people want to see profit from ads straight away. To get profit from ads straight away on a low content book or a medium content book is extremely hard, and to actually manage that, it's going to take a lot of time to optimize your ads to the point where they are profitable. Okay, so if you're in the UK, and I can't speak on behalf of other countries, but we have to add an extra 20% on top of our ad spend, which is shit, because it makes it even harder to make a direct profit. So a lot of us get to the point where it's impossible to make profit, a direct profit. So that doesn't mean that we can't do it. It just means that it's probably better suited for higher content books that are priced at like $19.99, for example. So it is doable for some campaigns, but the thought that you're going to make a direct profit just from running ads to your first ever book or your first ever campaign is not realistic. Okay, and I can promise you, if you've been running ads to this video, I guarantee 99 whatever percent of people watching this who've been running ads, you do not have a profitable ACOS. So that leads us to strategical usage of advertising campaigns. So typically by strategical usage, I mean ranking the book faster using ads. So this helps rank our books faster 100%. And the reason that we want to rank our books faster for certain keyword terms is because we can get that visibility quicker. Okay, and Amazon ads will help do that. If Amazon sees that you launch a book and it gets sales straight away, you're going to get ranked quicker if you get those sales, and that comes from ads. I guarantee it. So the focus here is going to shift. If we're going to use Amazon ads strategically, is that the focus is going to shift onto good keyword implementation. Okay, so you have to get your books ranked for keywords in your title and your subtitle that you are very confident that people are actually searching for. So I'm going to give examples of that in just a second. And of course, inside of all of this, we need to budget to keep track of that goal. Okay, because we cannot keep spending money on advertising campaigns. You know, if we launch a book and we're spending 90 cents, $1 per click, we cannot keep running that for all eternity. Like, it's not going to make us money. Okay, it's going to be literally impossible for pretty much everyone doing low and medium content books. Okay, so I'm going to go over my strategy for how I get the best of both worlds out of Amazon ads in just a second. So the other thing here when it comes to ranking our books is that people seriously underestimate the power of the organic side of Amazon. So if you're relying heavily on Amazon ads to make you a direct profit, is not going to happen unless you have a higher content book. I promise you, your overall ACOS, and this is what people don't show you, they don't show you that overall ACOS, okay, because that's what's going to matter. They're just going to show you snippets of certain campaigns that have performed well, but your overall ACOS is going to suck for low and medium content books. I can promise you it's going to be, the best you're going to see is probably around break even. Okay, so we seriously underestimate organic traffic to Amazon. That's where we need to be seeing 95, 96, 97% of our sales from. Okay, so the ideal scenario here is that both scenarios occur. So we launch with our ads and then we maintain those ads over time. So again, going to be going over my strategy in just a second to show you how I achieve this. So let's move on now with that in mind to the outline of my strategy. Now I can guarantee you this is something that you haven't seen regarding Amazon ads before. It's going to be 9 steps that you're about to see, and come the end of step 9, if you haven't seen this mechanical of an approach to running ads, then you owe me a subscribe. You have to promise me that you owe me a subscribe by the end of these 9 steps. So let's get into that now. I'm going to give examples as I go through my strategy. So step 1 is that we need to establish the demand of the niche that we're going into, and we need to budget around that. Okay, so that's mental preparation. So typically for me, that's going to be around $100 to $200 for the first month. And that's mainly because I get into niches that are quite competitive. So I assume that I'm going to need slightly more ad spend. So that moves us on to step number 2, where I then go ahead and I launch the book onto Amazon. I publish the book onto Amazon, and then I run various ad campaigns. There will be a section in this where I talk about the different types of campaigns that I run. But I go ahead, I run different campaigns, and then I monitor to see how fast I'm getting ranked for my main keyword phrase. So that's for a different video where we're talking about keyword research. But I monitor how fast I'm getting ranked for my main keyword. And step 4 is I monitor the keyword variation rankings as well. So before we move on to step 5, going to head over to Amazon and show you something. I'm going to show you an example from one of my books, and it's also going to kind of prove why Amazon is actually never really saturated when you put thoughtful approaches into it. Okay, so pretty much a year ago, I published an addition and subtraction workbook. Now, one of the main phrases that I wanted to get ranked for was addition and subtraction workbook. I'm not going to go into how I come up with these keywords that I want to get ranked for in this video, but that was one of the main keywords that I figured I wanted to get ranked for, and we utilized that in the title of our book, and we ended up getting ranked for it. Okay, so that's the thoughtful process here when it comes to running ads. You're getting ranked for the keyword phrase that you want to. Now, we talked about getting ranked for variations of these keywords that are in our title and our subtitle. So what we can do, and this is what I do during the launch period of my book, so the first couple of weeks, is I monitor where my book is being ranked on Amazon. And I'll tell you why in the next step that I do this. Okay, so for example, if we have an addition and subtraction workbook with all these different keyword phrases inside of this, we're going to check to see if we're getting ranked for variation. So for example, are we getting ranked for addition workbook grade 2, for example? So what I'll be doing is checking as many of these as I can to see if my book is being ranked on the first page for those search terms. So yes, I'm being ranked for that. Okay, that's great. I would say I'm happy with that because I think people are probably searching for that. Then we'll check out maybe, let's say, subtraction workbook grade 2. I don't actually think I'm ranked for this one. No, maybe I'm on the second page. I'm not on the second page either. Maybe we're ranked for addition, subtraction workbook. Yeah, we're ranked for that one as well. Okay, I don't know if people are actually searching for subtraction workbook. I think they might be. So we're getting ranked for different search terms, and I'm establishing which search terms I'm being ranked for. Now, this is one of the reasons why Amazon will never be saturated. There's no one-dimensional approach to being ranked. You can end up getting ranked all over the place for different search terms, okay? So let's just go back to our PowerPoint here. So step 4 was that we're monitoring the keyword variations as well. And then step 5 is we then, when we are happy with the rankings for our book, we adjust the campaigns after we are happy. So what this allows us to do is that it allows us to fit within a budget, so that once we're happy with where our books are getting ranked, we can then adjust the campaigns to our liking. If we're spending too much money, we can adjust the campaigns to the point where we're not. Okay, so what this is going to allow us to do is to stick within that budget and not overspend, because you have to take a thoughtful approach as to why you're running ads. And our thoughtful approach here is that we're running ads to get ranked for these keywords, the variation of those keywords. We get them ranked, and then we say to ourselves, I'm sort of hitting my budget now. I'm going to start reducing things, I'm going to turn things off. And this way, we're hitting the best of both worlds, where we're spending some money on ads to get the visibility, but we're not overspending as well. Okay, so Step 6 is I tend to monitor the organic sales versus the ad sales. Okay, so there will be this scenario where you can spend tons of money on your advertising campaigns and only see a few organic sales back to it. Okay, so there is something wrong with what you're doing. There's something wrong with your book, something wrong with your niche, something wrong with the way that you're targeting people in that niche if you have tons of ad sales but no organic sales. Okay, so for me, what I want to see when I start shutting off campaigns is that the organic sales are dwarfing the advertising sales as well. So I'm happy if I'm making like 50% of the sales are coming from ads and 50% of sales are coming organically. Then I can monitor things from there. Okay, so what we're doing, again, working within our budget and adjusting things when we're happy. So step number 7 is to make sure that we're not overspending for no reason. So we have our reason for running advertising campaigns now, don't we? We have that purpose of running ads, and that is to get ranked for a variety of different keywords. We're getting that visibility organically because that's where most of our sales should be coming from. And that way, when we do things this way, we're going to make sure that we do not overspend on our books, because you're going to end up running ads for no fucking reason. Okay. So step number 8 is after this kind of launch period, maybe let's say after a month of running ads, for example, across different campaigns, what I like to do is to take a list of the converting keywords. And then what this is going to allow us to do, and this is crazy, this will allow us to stop running auto campaigns that have an ACoS that's too high. It's going to allow us to turn those off if they are too high, but extract the keyword phrases from those campaigns that are working and then create manual campaigns from them. So this is not a given that this will work for you, but if you can see that if you have an auto campaign that's running at like 60% ACoS, and within that campaign you have a keyword phrase that is converting at 10%, you can then go ahead and create a manual campaign out of that and turn off the rest of the auto campaign that's not working. Okay, so it's obviously that's down to you what you would monitor and what your limits are with the ACoS and things like that. But that's a good way of utilizing the advertising data that we've paid for and allowing ourselves to continue to running ads to a book without overspending. Okay, and step number 9 is that we can drop a project. What I tend to do is drop a project if I've done everything I can within my budget, got into a niche that I think has got traffic going to it, spent within my budget, got ranked for the keywords that I'm happy with everything, and then this will be a scenario that happens a lot, is that things just won't take off for your book. That's just the way that it is. But you have to have that point where you're going to say to yourself, right, I'm going to stop running the ads. I'll let some of them that are doing okay keep running, but for the most part I'm going to drop this project now and just let it go and do its own thing, because I've done everything I can. So typically with these type of projects, and the last 2 books that I created were they kind of fell into this category. I had like a how to draw book and a word search book that didn't perform well, and I've just left them to their own devices now with like maybe a couple smaller campaigns running. So I'm not just spending tons and tons of money hoping that all of a sudden these books are going to pick up and start making sales. I've done what I can. It's proven to have not worked within the market, and I'm moving on. Okay, so what do you think? What do you think of that strategy? Is that something that you'd be interested in implementing into your advertising strategy yourself? If yes, then you owe me that subscribe. If not, then whatever. Let's move on to the next section, which we're going to look into a bit more detail about, which is overspending. And I put this in capitals because it's so important, because if you overspend on your ads, it's going to drive you crazy. You're going to quit. Okay, so overspending is something that I've obviously touched upon throughout the course of this video, but overspending on ads for no reason is going to result in a loss. So of course, this is why we have the budget that we work around. And I can promise you, most people watching this, you're going to be overspending on your ads because you're not sure of the reason why you're actually running ads. You're just hoping and praying that something is going to happen when it probably won't. Okay, so that's why we looked at creating the budget and then working with ads in a strategical fashion. So once you're ranked, you have to ask yourself, like, why are you continuing to keep running ads to your books? So there is the potential, because we looked at where our books were getting ranked for different keyword terms, etc., etc. So there is the potential that if you spend more, you will get more exposure for those different search terms across Amazon, and you'll get reviews quicker. So I do not operate in this way, because I don't think the reward is worth the risk. Basically, it's not worth spending that much money, because you're going to spend a ton of money hoping that you're going to get shown up, or you're going to show up on Amazon in all these glorious positions. And realistically, if you've done your keyword research correctly, then you should already be getting ranked for search terms that are going to help you get that exposure. Additional exposure from there for the sake of spending thousands is probably not going to be worth it. So again, to avoid overspending, you must base things off your organic success. Organic success on Amazon is everything for medium and low content books. In my opinion, for the most part, is that you want to be getting like 95% of your sales coming organically. Okay, so once you realize that, you can stop overspending. Okay, so outside of the launch period, where we're typically going to be spending most of our money during that launch period, if the ACoS is break even or lower, then we can go ahead and leave it. Okay, so otherwise, if you're not break even or slightly above break even, you have to ask yourself, what are you actually doing with your ad spend? Okay, so if you don't know what you're doing, you're spending lots of money on ads, you're overspending. So another thing that I want to touch upon, and we're going to look into this in a bit more detail, is does the niche potential even require this? Because what I found that people would do is that they'll pick a niche, then they'll start running tons of advertising campaigns to it, spending lots of money. But realistically, if you're going into niches that are low competition, you don't actually have to spend that much money for ads to serve their purpose, which is going to be getting your books ranked. Okay, so we'll take a look at an example of that in the next section. And one other thing that is going to lead to overspending is becoming emotionally attached to keep rankings for our books. So because you're becoming emotionally attached to that ranking. Okay, so if you find this happening to you, where you spent the money to get ranked and then you drop off as soon as you start reducing your bids, or you turn off the campaigns, in my opinion, from my experience, is that the book isn't good enough. There is something within your book, within your niche, within your targeting, within your unique selling point, that just isn't working. Okay, so again, once you realize that, what ads are for, once you pair up the organic sales versus the sales from ads, you realize that if things aren't working out, there's a reason for it. It's probably not being accepted into marketplace. You have to accept that. For a lot of books that you produce, that is going to happen. So let's talk about that. We're talking about the potential for the niche. So what I'm calling this is the niche cap. Okay, so this section is going to be all about that niche cap and budgeting around that. So ask yourself, and this is going to save you a ton of money, is your ad spend proportionate to the niche potential? So what a lot of people will try and do is that they'll enter into niches not doing their niche research, and then what they do is they spend tons of money trying to force an audience that doesn't exist. I'm going to give you an example in just a second, but we need to establish the demand for that book, then budget around it. Okay, so imagine that you're spending $5,000 on a niche that's only proven to be making most people, or the average amount, maybe $200 or $100 a month. It doesn't make sense to keep pushing advertising campaigns when there is going to be a limited demand for your book. Okay, you're not going to force people to want a book that they don't want. So that's going to end up with people clicking on your book from your advertising campaigns out of curiosity and then not buying it. So I'm going to give you an example of that now. All right, so let's load up Amazon here and take a look at this niche for a coloring book, which is an axolotl coloring book. Okay, so plenty of people have made axolotl coloring books, but the thing is this niche worth spending tons and tons of money on? That's the question here. Is that if you were going to run advertising campaigns for these type of book, is it going to be worth spending lots of money? So I can tell you, after doing a minute 30 seconds of niche research, I can tell you that the max amount I would budget for an axolotl coloring book is probably less than $10 in its entirety. Okay, so this comes back to the niche cap potential. So what you'll find is that the best selling book in this niche is ranked 74,000, which, you know, it's okay, like it's making some sales, but it's nothing. Like the average across all these BSRs that we're looking at here, look at these BSRs. Okay, that's not included, it's a different type of book, but the coloring books for axolotls are appalling. Like 170,000 with ads, not great. Okay, so this is where it comes into doing your niche research and budgeting around that, because you can look at this now and say to yourself, is this worth pumping tons of money into? Because if you spend a disproportionate amount of money on your ads, versus the demand, you're going to be overspending. You're going to lose money. Because in my opinion, and the way that I sort of cope with this, is that I look at what the best selling book is and I assume that's the maximum potential the book has. So the best selling book is around 74,000. So I'm going to make the assumption that that is the niche cap here, that is the potential for it. So once you start spending more and more money trying to target a more broader audience, like just coloring books in general, what you'll find is that people are going to click it, they'll click on your ads, but they don't want it. Like, people are going to click on this because it's there. It doesn't mean that they want it, right? So what that's going to result in is you overspending on your ads and not making the money back through organic sales, okay? So let's do another example here. So let's go ahead and try the niche that is how to draw anime. So again, let's take a look at the research here. And honestly, the whole search results thing is bullshit, man. Like, I know it can be good to find books that have got, you know, not much in the search results in terms of these numbers here, but if you implement keyword research and strategies and ad strategies, all sorts, into your book launches, it's not going to matter that much. And again, that's something people don't really talk about. But anyway, that's beside the point. We can take a look at the how to draw anime niche here and just take a look at some of the BSRs. We have 22,000, 4,000, 7,000, 32,000, 84, 16, 22. And these are all higher priced books, by the way, okay? 11,000, 22,000, 142,000, 200,000. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking this is a pretty good niche, especially with what the average cost of your book is. It looks to be quite high, some going up to like $13. So I would look at this, and if I was going to create a book in this niche, which I would love to actually do, I would look at this and I'd say to myself, my ad spend is going to be slightly higher. So if I had to guess in terms of getting ranked for this book, maybe $30, okay? So that's how I approach things to make sure that I don't overspend when it comes to creating advertising campaigns. So again, I would take a look, just to touch back upon like the niche potential here, is that we have an independently published book that's ranked around 4,000. Try and find some other independently published books that have a decently low, decent ranking to them, and then you would establish from there like what you're kind of willing to spend. So over the course of a month, maybe if I would spend like $100 on this type of niche, okay? So that's something that will take time for you to establish, but the general feel is that the better demand for these books are, the more flexible that you can be with your advertising campaigns, okay? So hopefully that's making sense. Now, another way that you can do things, especially if you don't want to go through that sort of trying to figure out how much money you should be spending based on how much demand there is in the niche, what I tend to do is just to hard cap every book to a certain amount for the first month. So keyword words here being first month, okay? Because the subsequent months from there are going to be less and less and less and less. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Getting ahead of myself here, but you can hard cap the amount to whatever you're comfortable with and work within that. If it's $20, do that. If it's $50, do that. If it's $1,000, do that. Again, not financial advice, but my cap is between 100 and 200. Now, that budget can change only if the book is performing well. So by that, I mean, are the ad campaigns performing well? Is the ACOS good for some of those campaigns? If they are, I can leave them going. The budget's going to go up. If the organic sales are outweighing the advertising sales, then the budget can go up. The only reason, the only time that you don't want to let your budget go up and up and up and up and up and up, where you're spending thousands, is if your book is not performing well organically and if your advertising campaigns are not performing either. Do not keep just running ads hoping something special is going to happen. It won't. The special thing that will happen is you crying in a corner because you've lost lots of money. So like I say, the subsequent months after the first month, they're going to be less and less and less, because what we've done here is that we've used ads for their purpose, which was to get the book ranked. But what we will do is turn off the campaigns that aren't working, and then we're going to be spending around, for me, most books, like $20 per month. And a lot of these books now that I have, they don't have any ad spend behind them. Some of them like $5 per month, because we've done the hard work of getting the book ranked, the niche research, everything that goes into creating a good book. And then everything after there, we can start reducing the advertising campaigns, optimizing them, turning them off. which is going to result in there being less and less ad spend per month. Okay, so moving on to killing your ads, optimizing them, and leaving them. So here's what I do. Everything in this video here is based around getting the best of both worlds. Okay, so we want to be able to use ads, but we also want to, not spend much money on them, right? So here's the way that I'm doing things, is that everything is left running during the launch period of the first 1 to 2 weeks. So it doesn't matter what the ACoS goes up to, provided that it is still within my budget. I let the ACoSs go to whatever point. Okay, so I max budget around $5 per campaign per day, because that's what I'm happy with. I monitor these every single day during the launch period to make sure that I'm not spending over my budget. Okay, so everything is left on, and the ACoS will of course go out the window completely. 100%, 150%, 104%, whatever it is, the ACoS goes wild during this launch period, but we're getting ranked for our search terms, or our title, our subtitle, and things like that. So we're getting ranked. Now, what I do is I then go ahead and kill the campaigns after that period that are really bad. Okay, so you'll find that you'll have campaigns that are like 200%, where you spent $10 and had one sale or whatever it is. Those ones, you don't have enough data to optimize them, so you can't keep spending on them. So I just turn those campaigns off, right? Now, when it comes to optimizing and leaving campaigns, I look for anything that's kind of around 50 or 60% ACoS after the launch period, and I leave them turned on, provided that the organic sales are going well. Okay, so if we have a campaign that has an ACoS of like 20%, obviously we're going to leave it. If we have one that's like 60%, then we want to look at reducing that ACoS by doing things like reducing the bid or adding the negative targeting search terms. So yeah, like I say here, we can remove certain keywords, we can reduce the bid price, and from there we can extract all the keyword phrases that have converted well, so we can go ahead and turn off as many campaigns that aren't performing as possible. Okay, we'll turn off the ones that are really sucking, then we can extract the keywords and start creating more campaigns from keyword phrases that are proven to convert. Okay, so what we're going to be left with after everything here is that we get left with a ranking for our book for search terms that we think people are searching for. We get left with keywords that are proven to be profitable through Amazon. So the keywords that you get from like auto campaigns that are proven to convert, that is Amazon's own data. It's incredibly powerful. So you can take those campaigns, those keywords, phrases, and create new campaigns from them. You can even create new books from them. And also you're going to be left with a low monthly spend and ACoS. Okay, so once the storm settles, we can start doing things at our own pace. So after that launch period of maybe the first 2 weeks where the ACoS is going out the window, what we're going to be leaving is the campaigns that are doing quite well. And then we can start doing things at our own pace, optimizing, etc., etc. Okay, so what I find is that after the launch period, I have some campaigns that are trickling along, and then over the course of like a month, or however long, a few weeks, I can then start optimizing those campaigns, because I'm going to get more data back from the campaigns that are actually performing well. And like I say here, the result is that we're going to get the best of both worlds, where we are utilizing ads, but we're not spending too much money. Okay, so ultimately, like, the ideal scenario is that you have campaigns that are of a decent ACoS, you've got ranked, you've got keyword search terms that you can use again, and the best scenario ever is that you have some campaigns that are making you a direct profit as well. So any campaign for me that is losing a tiny bit of money or under the break even point, that gets left on pretty much forever, because I kind of feel like any sale to your book is going to be a good one, even if it's around the break-even point. Okay, you have to use ads in a way that makes sense within your skill set. Okay, so for most of us, that's going to be to get our books ranked and then make some tweaks here and there to see if we can break even or make some profit from them. So the type of ad campaigns that you use with that in mind is going to be pretty much all of them. Okay, so auto campaigns are going to be the fastest to give you the easiest results, and typically they're what I use during the launch period. And one of the downsides, of course, with the automatic campaigns is that you don't have that much control when it comes to what Amazon decides to target for you. So typically during that launch period, your ACoS is going to be pretty high. Okay, so The other ones that I like to use are product targeting, where it makes sense to do so. So if I feel like I've created a book where it offers a little bit more than books typically in that niche, so if it has a unique selling point, or it's got more pages, or something that's just better or better pricing, where it makes sense to do so, then what I like to do is to find other similar books in the niche and then do the product targeting campaigns against those books, which does work quite well, which can bring back cheaper clicks as well. So the best that I've used in terms of getting low click prices are those lottery campaigns. So I remember seeing someone create a video about this maybe a year ago. I can't remember who it was. I looked at it and thought, I don't know, that seems pretty stupid. Went ahead and tried it for a batch of notebooks that I created. It was like 6 notebooks, put them all into one campaign, one auto campaign with a low click price. And the ACOS for them now is like 12 to 13%. And I've left the campaign running for a long time now. So there is a direct profit happening from those campaigns, but I'm not sure that that's the type of campaign that you'd want to use when it comes to launching your book, because I think it's going to take longer to get the clicks that you want. Okay, so the other thing here that I do is I experiment a lot with the different types of campaigns. So using the up and down only dynamic bids, and what I call piss take campaigns, where I'm trying to just fish out cheaper clicks. So that might be a case of creating lots of auto campaigns for 10 to 15 cent, 18 cent or something like that. I do understand and I do appreciate that that is now getting harder to do. But the thing is here, like with all the information that you've been presented with in this video and understanding the point of running ads, the thing is, it doesn't matter to me if it cost me $50 to launch a book, or if it cost me $20 to launch a book, or if it cost me $10 to launch a book and get it ranked on the first page. Okay, so the purpose is still going to remain the same no matter what the cost per click. It's how you manage that after that. So ideally, yes, it would be nice to have a book ranked for $5 and then have an ACOS of 10% for the rest of its lifetime, but it's unlikely to happen. So when it comes to budgeting, if we utilize our campaigns correctly, it doesn't matter if we have $1 clicks, basically, because you're going to budget correctly. You're probably going to get ranked, provided that you've done your keyword research and niche research correctly. It just would be nicer if the clicks were cheaper, right? So again, like, you just have to realize what your purpose is when it comes to running ads, and for the most part it's going to be to get your book ranked, and then hopefully the organic sales are going to take over, and then you're going to be left with, again, hopefully campaigns that do break even or bring back some return. Okay, and like I say, the reality is that none of us are experts here. So with that in mind, what would I do if I was a beginner? Because it's all really great seeing like people on YouTube making thousands of dollars, really low ACOS amounts, and just absolutely crushing with advertising campaigns, but it doesn't paint a big picture. It doesn't paint the correct picture, of what you should be doing as a beginner, because these are the results of people that have been doing this for a long time. Okay, so going against pretty much everything that I've ever preached in my entire YouTube journey is that I think you should make more books. Because if someone comes and watches this video, watches anything that I've ever said about ads, watches what your favorite YouTuber says about ads, if someone new to publishing comes and tries to replicate that with their books, they are going to fail. I would put money on a new publisher failing completely when it comes to running ads. And the reason is because that massive part of publishing, which is actually having an understanding of everything that's going on prior to running your ads. So correct niche research, having a good book cover, being able to do keyword research as well, and understanding where your books are being ranked. All those things, they come with time. No matter how many videos you watch, I can guarantee that you do not and you will not have a good understanding, for example, of what a good book cover looks like after publishing 2 or 3 books. So what I would suggest a beginner to do, or if you're struggling making sales with ads, if you're losing lots of money with ads, is to make more books and don't run ads. So learn keyword research, learn your niche research, get a huge understanding, spend a lot of time on Amazon, get yourself DS Amazon quick view, understand the niche potential, niche caps, understand everything like that before you actually start running ads, and produce more books. I don't care like if they're journals, notebooks, I don't know what the other things are, like spiritual planners or some shit, whatever they are. Even if they have no chance of making sales, Learn how to do them, and then once you've nailed that, then start running ads. So if you're terrible at book cover design, for example, then get better at that, okay? Because that's a massive factor that's going to affect the amount of people that actually click on your books. A big problem people have is that they start running ad campaigns, get impressions, but they don't get any clicks. That's because the book cover shit. So that's all these things that you can work on, basically. And I say you can work on, I mean you have to work on before you can start getting into these big niches and making utilizing ads to the best of their ability, right? So the only way ads are going to work for you with all this in mind is that if you are already good at doing the whole KDP thing, okay? So what I would suggest that people do if they are beginners or if they're struggling completely and they want to start spending some money on advertising campaigns is to get into smaller niches. So that means you're going to have to learn about doing your niche research and keyword research and test some $1 per day auto campaigns, okay? So hopefully you're going to be getting cheaper clicks because you're in smaller niches and you're not going to be overspending. Like the max amount you would spend over a month, of course, would be around $30. That way, you're going to get an idea as to how the advertising campaigns work, etc., etc. And what you should do is set yourself a cold, hard budget and do not shift from it. Okay, that is what I would recommend for beginners to do, or people that don't fully understand what they're doing with the advertising campaigns. So yeah, that's the reality here, is that it's great, like I say, to see people who are doing really well. It can be infuriating to see people getting cheaper clicks than you. It can be infuriating to see people making more organic sales than you. But the reality is that a lot of people who are doing well have been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for a long time. It took me a fair while before I started actually getting into ads. Like 2019, I started doing ads. And as you can see from my account over the last few years, only then have I been spending more and more and more. And the most I've ever spent in a month it's not even that much, right? So you have to make your way toward those big numbers. And if you're someone that's completely new to advertising campaigns, completely new to KDP, and you've spent $1,000 in your first month on your first book, something's wrong. Okay, back to the drawing board. So regarding that, and just to sort of finish this video up with the mental side of things, if I have to give one piece of advice regarding all of this, is that if running ads and losing money makes you feel bad, don't do it. If you feel like there is some external reason why your books aren't selling and you spent too much money on your advertising campaigns and you need to complain about that in the YouTube comments or wherever, then I think really you have to go back to the drawing board and just work on the fundamentals first, because I promise you, it works. Like, you can get your book ranked, you can start seeing sales organically, and spending tons of money on your advertising campaigns is not the way forward. It just won't be. If you're someone that is new to KDP especially, it's going to make you feel terrible. You're probably going to quit if you spend all that money and you've not seen a return on it. So that's the importance of this video that I'm presenting you here, is that you have to have the reasons behind it, you have to budget it. And yeah, the mental side of things is crazy. Like, if you spend so much on your ads, makes you feel pissed off, makes you feel like throwing things around, then you have to reduce that amount and do what makes you feel comfortable and work within that. Okay, so coming to terms with what ads are is the point of this video. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And I'll see you soon.